Number 10. Daydreaming often and vividly. They called you distracted in class, lost in thought at work. Come back to reality, they said, as if your mind drifting was a flaw. But what if those mental detours were actually the backstage of creativity itself? Daydreaming is not an escape. It's your brain rehearsing imagination in secret. Neuroscientists call it default mode network activation. The moment your conscious attention fades, your mind quietly connects scattered memories, half-forgotten feelings, and strange possibilities. It's mental jazz, improvising ideas you didn't even know you had. Creative people daydream like others breathe. They replay arguments and rewrite them. They imagine entire alternate versions of their day. What if I had said that? What if the world worked like this? These what-ifs are seeds of art, invention, and insight. Einstein once said his theories came from visualizing himself riding a beam of light. That's not concentration. That's cosmic daydreaming. When you let your mind wander in line at the grocery store while showering or staring out a window, you're actually synthesizing. Every unstructured minute becomes a lab where your subconscious experiments freely. People who forbid boredom, who constantly fill silence with screens, lose that space where imagination brews. So next time you drift off mid-conversation or forget the world while walking, don't scold yourself. You are wandering through mental landscapes where new ideas are born. Creativity thrives in the gaps between focus, in those gentle, aimless, vivid trips beyond the now. Number 9. Asking strange, what-if questions. What if trees could talk to each other? What if time moved backward? What if memories were contagious? To most people, these sound like meaningless tangents. To creative minds, they're doorways. Every great invention, every novel twist, every paradigm shift began as a what if, too absurd to say aloud. The question is not whether the world answers, it's whether you dare to keep asking when others roll their eyes. Children ask what if constantly. Then school teaches them to stop. Society trims curiosity to fit rules and deadlines until imagination becomes an endangered instinct. But creatives refuse extinction. They revive the ancient art of wondering without purpose, a rebellion against predictable thinking. When you ask weird questions, you aren't chasing answers. You're stretching the boundaries of what existence can mean. Philosophers and artists thrive here. What if dreams are parallel lives? Became surrealism. What if machines could think? Became AI. What if sound had color? Birthed synesthetic art and music. Every what if is a glitch in logic that reveals an unseen pattern. It forces your mind to hold two realities at once, the known and the impossible, until they fuse into something original. People who never ask strange questions live in a sealed box called certainty. Creative people live in doorways, always stepping halfway between sense and nonsense. The world progresses because someone looked at the ordinary and whispered, "But what if it isn't?" So the next time your brain tosses a wild hypothetical, don't silence it, chase it. Because what if isn't a question at all. It's a spell that turns reality into possibility. Number 8. Noticing patterns in random places. Most people see chaos. Creative people see code. They stare at clouds and find faces, hear rhythm in raindrops, detect hidden meaning in coincidences. Their minds are wired to connect fragments that were never meant to touch. To them, nothing is random. Everything hums with potential order, like an unfinished puzzle daring to be completed. This isn't superstition. It's pattern sensitivity, the secret fuel of creativity. The same brain regions that recognize faces and shadows are the ones that recognize beauty in contradictions. It's the system that tells a musician how ocean waves have tempo, how city traffic beats like a drum. It's why a scientist sees math in a honeycomb, why a poet sees heartbreak in a rusted door. Creative thinkers are detectives of meaning. They notice how human behavior loops, how colors echo across scenes, how one emotion hides inside another. Their imagination runs a constant algorithm. What connects what? When others move through the world passively, they are scanning for symmetry, irony, resonance, the faint fingerprints of design within disorder. But it's a double-edged gift. Seeing too many patterns can overwhelm. It can lead you to conspiracy or obsession if you don't balance intuition with logic. The trick is to notice deeply but believe selectively, to keep seeing magic without mistaking it for fact. Because creativity isn't about inventing something from nothing. It's about seeing something in everything. When you begin finding patterns in random noise, you're no longer observing reality, you're interpreting it, sculpting coherence from chaos. So the next time a crack in the wall looks like a map or a song lyric echoes your day, don't dismiss it. Your brain is whispering. The universe rhymes more than it repeats. Number 7. Doodling or sketching unconsciously. It starts as nothing, a pen scratching, shapes in the corner of a notebook, a swirl drawn during a call, lines looping without purpose. But those aimless doodles are not meaningless. They're thought made visible, the subconscious speaking before words can. Creative people don't always plan art. Sometimes, art leaks out of them through idle hands. When you doodle, your brain enters a low-focus trance where logic quiets and intuition takes the wheel. Psychologists call this diffuse attention. It's the same mental state where daydreams spark, a fertile field where abstract connections grow freely. That's why Einstein sketched equations absent-mindedly, Da Vinci filled pages with flying machines, and writers draw spirals while thinking of stories. The hand becomes a translator for thoughts too complex to fit into language. In those moments, you're mapping your inner weather, curiosity, anxiety, wonder, into shapes and lines. A doodle can predict your next idea before you even know it consciously. It's how creativity sneaks past the gatekeeper of reason. You might think you're drawing a random pattern, but your mind is actually rehearsing the architecture of a new concept, building without blueprints. People who suppress this instinct, who feel guilty for wasting time, miss the point. Doodling is thinking, just in a different dialect. It proves that imagination doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers through ink. So next time your hand wanders on paper during a meeting, let it. That absent-minded sketch might be your next breakthrough in disguise, a small portal where chaos escapes into art. Number 6. Being messy but still productive. There's a myth that creativity requires order, clean desks, color-coded notes, digital calendars, aligned like constellations. But peek inside the workspace of any true innovator, and you'll find chaos wearing a crown. Piles of half-used notebooks, sticky notes with fragments of genius, coffee rings on sketches that could change the world. To the untrained eye, it's clutter. To a creative mind, it's a living ecosystem of thought. Mess for creative people is not disorganization, it's externalized cognition. Their ideas don't fit neatly in linear folders because creativity itself isn't linear. It loops, collides, mutates. Einstein's office was famously a hurricane of papers. Steve Jobs kept desks full of prototypes and sketches that contradicted each other. Writers, artists, engineers, all build physical chaos to mirror their mental storm. It's how they navigate the complex forest of imagination, leaving trails of unfinished ideas to find their way back later. The paradox is simple. Creativity thrives on structure, but it's born from disorder. A messy desk isn't laziness. It's a dynamic archive of possibilities. The brain connects ideas better when it's surrounded by stimuli, even random ones. That shirt tossed on a chair might remind you of a color palette. That crumpled note could hold a phrase worth reviving. So if your space looks like an explosion of thoughts, don't panic. You're not broken. You're brewing. Productivity for creatives is not about perfection, but momentum. The energy flows where curiosity leads, and sometimes that means stepping over chaos to reach clarity. Remember, a spotless desk might look impressive, but a messy one often hides galaxies in progress. Number 5. Playing with words or puns frequently. Wordplay is more than humor. It's the mind flexing its agility. People who twist language, pun, or flip meanings aren't just being clever. They're revealing how fluid their thoughts truly are. A pun is a moment when logic fractures and creativity slips through the gap. It's where the brain sees that one sound can hold two truths, that a word isn't a cage, but a portal. Linguists call this semantic flexibility, but creatives call it fun. It's the art of bending meaning until it sparkles. Shakespeare did it constantly. His plays are stitched with double meanings that make scholars argue for centuries. Stand-up comedians, poets, and advertisers do the same, turning common phrases inside out until they explode with new life. When you play with words, you're training your brain to see hidden layers in everything, because words are just symbols, and symbols are the skeletons of ideas. Frequent pun makers also show emotional intelligence. They sense rhythm, tone, irony all at once. It's linguistic jazz, and that mental dance doesn't just stay in language. It transfers to problem-solving, design, invention. Because creativity is about relinking things that seem unrelated. And what's a pun, if not exactly that? Some people avoid wordplay, fearing it's childish. But in truth, it's one of the purest signs of a playful mind. Creativity demands that kind of looseness, the courage to sound silly in pursuit of something profound. So if you find yourself rhyming nonsense, inventing words, or slipping jokes into conversations, don't hold back. You're not avoiding seriousness. You're rewriting the rules of expression. Because to play with words is to remind the world that thought itself is a game, and you're winning it. Number 4. Experimenting with routines. Most people worship routine as the backbone of discipline. Wake up, work, repeat, stability over surprise. But creative minds treat routine like clay, not concrete. They shape it, twist it, break it, rebuild it. They don't live inside schedules, they collaborate with them. Because creativity dies in monotony, but it also starves without rhythm. The magic lies in oscillation, the predictable heartbeat that occasionally skips. Creative individuals often rearrange their days like experiments. They write at midnight one week, then watch dawn bleed through the next. They eat the same breakfast for months, then suddenly fast for a day to reset perception. These aren't whims, they're controlled disruptions. Each shift rewires attention, forcing forces new neural pathways, and challenges the brain's comfort zones. Habit psychologists call this cognitive reframing through novelty, the process of refreshing the mind's lens by altering context. A new route to work, a different playlist, writing from a cafe instead of a desk. These small ruptures generate fresh associations. The mind loves patterns but grows blind to them when they never change. Creative people know when to honor their rituals and when to smash them for inspiration. Yet, the secret isn't chaos. It's curiosity disguised as discipline. They don't escape structure. They redesign it constantly. They understand that consistency builds momentum, but variation builds perspective. So if you ever feel your imagination dimming, don't wait for a grand epiphany. Just change the angle of your day. Because creativity doesn't arrive with thunder. It often sneaks in when you brush your teeth with the wrong hand. Number 3. Mixing unrelated ideas together. Every creative genius is at heart a matchmaker, not of people, but of ideas that were never supposed to meet. They see connections between galaxies and raindrops, between psychology and cooking, between philosophy and memes. Creativity isn't about inventing from nothing. It's about remixing reality until something new starts to hum. The brain's greatest creative leap happens through conceptual blending, taking elements from distant domains and letting them collide. A poet borrows from physics, a scientist draws from art, a filmmaker blends mythology with quantum theory. When unrelated worlds merge, the friction between them generates sparks of originality. That's how Nikola Tesla imagined wireless energy, by linking waves in water to waves in air. It's how Picasso fused African masks with European realism. It's how memes merge irony with philosophy in a single scroll. Ordinary thinkers separate things to understand them. Creative thinkers unite them to transform them. They don't fear contradiction, they court it. When others say, "That doesn't belong together," the creative mind whispers, "That's exactly why it should." The stranger the mix, the richer the discovery. This habit requires mental courage. It means living between categories, tolerating confusion, and trusting that sense will emerge later. It's uncomfortable, but that discomfort is the birthplace of innovation. So if your thoughts seem chaotic, if you constantly jump from science to poetry to music to absurdity, congratulations, you're cross-pollinating reality. The world's greatest inventions, stories, and movements were born from minds that refuse to color within a single discipline. Because true creativity isn't combining similar things beautifully, it's fusing opposites until the impossible feels inevitable. Number 2, enjoying solitude without boredom. Most people run from silence as if it's a void. Creative minds walk straight into it because they know solitude isn't emptiness. It's the echo chamber where imagination speaks loudest. While others scroll through noise to avoid their own thoughts, creatives listen to the whispers that only exist when everything else stops. Solitude is not loneliness. It's the soil where self-dialogue grows. Every artist, inventor, and philosopher has visited that quiet inner cave where ideas gestate. Beethoven wandered forests alone to hear symphonies before they were written. Virginia Woolf wrote that one needs a room of one's own, not just for privacy, but for psychological permission to think unfiltered. Solitude offers that, Awaya. A rare space where thoughts aren't immediately shaped by reaction, judgment, or performance. When you enjoy your own company, your mind begins to expand inwardly. You start noticing patterns in your emotions, thoughts that link across years, unresolved fragments asking to be completed. This self-conversation sharpens intuition because the creative process isn't always about input. It's about decoding what's already inside you. Boredom, then, is not an enemy but a threshold. Those who can stay with it without escaping are rewarded with clarity. It's during that quiet void that your subconscious rearranges the puzzle pieces of life into meaning. So, if solitude doesn't scare you, if you can sit in stillness and feel ideas ripple, you're already among the rare few who can hear creativity breathing beneath silence. Because in the end, solitude isn't isolation, it's incubation. Number 1. Reframing problems in unusual ways. Most people attack problems head-on, like a wall that must be broken. Creative minds, however, walk around the wall, or sometimes they ask whether the wall even exists. This is the secret art of reframing, seeing the same problem through a different lens until it stops being a problem at all. Reframing isn't denial, it's transformation. When a creative thinker faces a dead end, they don't double their effort. They change the question. Instead of "how do I fix this?" they might ask, "What if this is meant to break?" Or, "What if the obstacle is the path?" That shift turns frustration into fuel. Every great breakthrough in history, from the invention of Post-it notes to the theory of relativity, began when someone stopped asking the usual question. Reframing works because creativity loves paradox. It finds beauty in contradiction, turning failure into feedback, chaos into pattern, accident into intention. When you look at a problem sideways, your brain activates new neural roots, linking distant concepts to form original solutions. It's like rotating a Rubik's Cube, the same colors, but suddenly a new alignment appears. This mindset also breeds emotional resilience. Reframers don't collapse under uncertainty, they dance with it. To them, confusion is raw material, not defeat. They don't just solve, they reinterpret. So, when life hands you a knot, don't just pull harder. Tilt your head, squint, and ask, what story does this knot tell? Because sometimes the most creative solution isn't found by thinking harder, it's found by thinking differently. That's the true mark of creative intelligence. Not control over reality, but the courage to redefine it.